Hey guys, Tyler Mahoney here.
And I'm Jeff Faulkenberry. And we're back
For another edition of the Endless Season Outdoors podcast. We are here kind of nearing the end of March. It's March 21st, and we're super excited. There's a lot of really cool things going on in the outdoor world right now. We've got crappie fishing that's picking up. Catfishing's been good. Turkey season's coming up. We've got a lot of things to talk about. It'll be really fun. One of the things we want to talk about first, though, just kind of getting on a schedule for the show.
Yeah.
We're looking at doing the first Thursday of every month here for the rest of the year, where we are going to have a new episode launching on the first Thursday of every month. So just kind of wanted to get you guys set up so you had your expectations of knowing when we'd be coming out with another episode. We've been really busy here the last few weeks, and we kind of got behind this month, but we are sticking to that schedule moving forward. First Thursday of every single month, there's going to be a new Endless Season Outdoors podcast, so be on the lookout for that. And with that, let's talk a little outdoors. So I was out at Truman yesterday. Jeff's out there every day, but I was covering the Crappie Masters tournament yesterday. There's 39 teams. Pretty unreal. I've yet to verify it completely, but it took 16.74 pounds to win. And what I need to verify is, I think that might be a new lake record in Crappie Masters on Truman.
I think that probably shattered the record on Truman. Dalton and Larry Gorham, both really good friends of mine, father and son team. I've been blessed enough to watch Dalton grow up, turkey hunting and fishing and bow hunting and everything else. Really good folks. And those guys, man, they got the live scope strapped on their boat and they got it dialed in. And, you know, that's what we've seen over the last 2 or 3 years is when the live style of fishing come out, we started seeing these extreme crappie weights in crappie tournaments. And, you know, those fish were always there. And, you know, Truman always took, you know, I've seen it take up to 13 pounds, even over pre-live scope. And then now it's like, you know, our buddy Hunter Bowling, he had 14-something and to third place?
Yeah, 1485.
Which is still great.
That normally wins.
Yeah. You're talking over a 2-pound average on Truman Lake, and that's just fantastic. I mean, congrats to Hunter for doing that. But then for these guys to come in with over 16 pounds, my land, unreal. But it just shows us what this fishery is and what it's going to be because, you know, with Truman getting started in the late 70s, early 80s, I've always said this lake is still young. And it's still got a long ways to mature, and it's still going to do great things for years to come because it's a well-managed fishery, and it's just not been around long enough for guys like us to see its full potential. And I hope our kids and grandkids and stuff like that do. But, you know, having such a good shad crop and stuff like that is really key to making Truman Lake what it is.
What was really interesting yesterday that a lot of the teams were talking about, the teams that found them and that were in the top 5, they found the fish really shallow. So they were fishing 15, 20 feet of water, but the fish were only 2 to 4 feet below the surface. They were so high up that they almost couldn't see them on live scope. Yeah. And the only reason that Darren Langford and Hunter Bowling figured it out, because usually it's a lot of carp and trash fish that are up that high, they went and dropped on one 2-pounder. Like, oh my gosh. And that's kind of what light bulb went off. And that's how they found them. Same thing with Larry and Dalton. Funny thing about them, they hadn't fished the lake since January.
Yep.
So they hadn't practiced.
That's the best. Just go do what you know to do.
They went to a spot that they had historically done well on.
Yep. And those fish 2 to 4 feet under the surface, I mean, that's something that's learned. I mean, you know, you've always had that oddball fish where you've been out fishing, you're fishing 10 foot deep or whatever, and you know your kid takes and casts out in the middle of the cove and reels it back and under a cork or whatever and catches a fish, and you're like, oh, that was a stroke of luck, you know. But those fish are there. They've always been there. Just nobody targeted them 2 foot under the surface.
Yeah, it just makes you wonder how, like, just for how many years people drove right by, going to the trees, dipping trees, and they were going right over.
Well, every bass fisherman out there is probably watching this like, yeah, we catch them on a big spinnerbait all the time.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
So nothing new there.
It was pretty neat. I did get to meet actually one of the Truman Lake Fishing Intel members there. It was his first time competing in a Crappie Masters event. He had inherited his dad's boat. It was, I believe, a 1980s boat. I can't remember the brand, but he was super excited, and he did okay. I think he had 5 fish for 7 pounds, but it was kind of really neat seeing his story, how he's kind of getting into it, and just a really good guy. And he did a nice little video for Truman Lake Fishing Intel as well. So there will be quite a few little videos. Did an interview with Hunter and Darren that we'll have up at Truman Lake Fishing Intel. An interview with Willie Schrader was the guy that I'd met there. So we'll have a lot of good coverage up at Truman Lake Fishing Intel. One of the things with the lake right now, Jeff, is you're seeing it. You're on there every day. Conditions are kind of crazy. Lake's way high. So what's the latest there?
Right, yeah. We've got a lot of big spring rain, and the ground was already saturated from all the snow and the deep freeze that we had. So we got a good ton of rain, and the lake got up to 721.53 as of Sunday. And then they started running some gates. So now it'll start hopefully going back the other way, barring we don't have any huge rains or anything. We do have some small rains still to come, but it got up pretty big, and it was fun for a while. It's fun to an extent, and then once it gets so big, then it's like, okay, it can turn around and go the other way. And that's for me 100%. I love to fish it when it's rising. I love to fish it, and I like to fish it up to 7:10 and 7:12 and 7:13, 7:15, and then when it keeps going, then it starts getting a little rough. And what it does is the lake was down for so long. We had such a dry summer and even a dry fall, really. That all the grass and the trees and everything, bushes and willows and everything grows up. Well, you're fishing that rise all the way up, just past normal conditions. But then once it gets past, maybe 7:15, 7:17, well, then it's up in grass that's 3 feet tall and this and that. And that's no fun.
Yeah.
Now the crappie will get in the bushes some if it stays long enough.
Right.
But we'll see.
Well, and that's what some of the guys were talking about yesterday, that they thought if the weather stayed warm that the crappie might get up there here pretty soon.
Looks like we have some warmer weather. They are running the dam. They were running 33 CFS, so it can go down just as fast as it came up if we don't have any more rain. So current, on some of the main lake points where they're in the bushes and stuff, they start pulling that. Them fish will get in there in that current. They'll get up and around them bushes. And but like I said, if it's falling real fast, they won't stay there long.
Yeah. So on the topic of crappie, so let's, barring the water level, what's kind of your forecast for like the next month and a half on what crappie you're going to be doing? When's the time to be out?
Well, right now we're toward the end of March, so we're going into a really big transition within the next 30 days. These fish are going to stage in these creek channels to spawn, and then they're going to move up to the shoreline for spawn. The bucks will go first, then the females will go in, lay the eggs, and then the bucks will stay and guard. It only takes, it's a really short window of what it takes for these eggs to become fry. So this happens all in a matter of hours. I want to say it's something like 33 hours, something like that. It's not totally, but it's somewhere in there that those eggs become fry, and then they're gone. So they're not up there for a really long time. But these fish are going to go from pre-spawn to spawn to post-spawn, all in one big, we'll say 60-day window. And that's going to start right now. There's a lot of fish staging in these creek channels right now. If you've been out catching crappie, you've been seeing them big old solid bellies. One, they're full of shad, and two, they're full of eggs. Even the big black crappies, we've caught a lot of black crappie, and a lot of them are really nice females. And those usually spawn first, usually.
Now in Truman, it's a dirtier water lake. Sometimes in clear water lakes, they might spawn in 10 to 15 feet if the water's really clear, but they'll get up pretty shallow.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we'll be throwing sliders or a jig under a cork, a foot deep or whatever. So there's lots of times you'll see them eat it. When they're up there on the shoreline.
So there's going to be a lot of bank fishing opportunities. Is there any particular parts of the lake that lend themselves better to others for those who don't have boats that want to try it from the bank?
No, there's core ground all the way around the edges, but the thing to remember is the closer to the river, the dirtier the water is going to be. So that water is going to warm faster. And if those are the ones that you want to chase spawning first because it's going to hit that higher water temperature. Now it takes a length of day. When the length of day gets close to 14 hours, that's when your crappie are going to spawn. The water can be whatever degrees it wants to be, but it takes that length of day, which has a factor in all the outdoors, whether it's deer, turkeys, fish, whatever. That length of day gets close to 14 hours, and that water temperature gets up over 55, 58 to 60 degrees. That's when it's going to happen. And it's going to happen in your dirtier water first because it's going to warm first. So, when you're chasing this crappie spawn, start out in the dirtier water, and then follow it down. You'll catch them fish on the bank, and as you start to stop catching those fish on the bank and you start catching them where they're 5, 6, 8 feet out away from the shoreline, move on down the lake to the next kind of stage of water clarity, because now those fish are going to be moving in because it's getting up to that temperature. And once, same deal, and just keep moving down the lake, and you can make that spawn last a really long time. Instead of fishing one little area that you normally fish, you might get a week and a half of good fishing. You can follow that spawn all the way down the lake if you just pay attention to the water color and water temperature and that length of day.
Yeah. I'm kind of curious to see what kind of boat traffic and fishing pressure is going to be. Have you been seeing very many boats out yet here last week or two?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's going to be extreme. I mean, I don't know if it'll be like last spring, COVID hit, everybody was off work, and everybody was in the outdoors, which is a great thing. But it's busy. It's really, really busy. People bought boats that's never owned boats before.
Right.
It's everybody's getting in the outdoors.
Yeah, I mean, boats are going nuts. I mean, Anglers Port, who helps sponsor Truman Lake Fish Intel's like, if you don't get your boat order in now, you might not get it until the freaking summer's over.
Yeah.
So, shoot, if you don't have a boat now, you might already be hurting.
Yeah.
So, it's going to be a wild one. Hopefully it's going to be good again for just the fishing industry around Truman. I think it will be.
These marinas, the towns, all that, it can use a boost. I'm not going to say stimulate the economy. They're trying to find their own way to do that. But these marinas, in 2019 had a flood. They were out of work for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, flooded out.
Yeah.
No income, zero. So they did make some repairs. Places like Bucksaw, places like Long Shoal, all of them, Stair Creek, all of them. They were out of commission. And so now we need a really good bounce back for them folks.
Yeah.
And I hope they get it.
Absolutely. So one of the things, and we'll talk more about this in more detail on the next episode, but one of the big things on Truman coming up in April, I believe it's the 18th, 19th, I'd have to look for sure, the Big Bass Bash is coming to Truman.
Yep, first time.
Yep, first time. Big Bass Bash, for those of you guys who don't know, basically it's a 2-day tournament. They have windows where you can weigh in fish, and whoever weighs in the biggest bass of the whole weekend wins $100,000. And it's really meant for amateur fishermen. If you're a guide on the lake, you're not allowed to fish it. If you're a pro fisherman, I'm pretty sure they have rules where you're not allowed to fish it. So it is truly meant for an amateur angler, and there's a lot of folks that think that the big fish might be coming off of Truman this year.
It's kind of a fun deal because it takes one bite. You don't have to put together a limit. You don't have to nothing. You need one big one.
Right. I was talking to the guy who runs it a couple weekends ago, and I asked him what the biggest fish was. They've never broken 8 pounds. Yeah. I think they had an upper 7s or 7.5, if I remember what he said correctly. But
I think a friend of mine won it with a 7 something.
Okay.
Justin Swast, I believe he won it one year.
And there's been a lot smaller than 6 something, 5.5 and up has won it. Depending on just the conditions. It's traditionally held at Lake of the Ozarks. Draws 3,000 boats. Crazy. So one of the things why they're bringing it over to Truman is to kind of help reduce pressure on Lake of the Ozarks, because boating season starts picking up, and for those of us around Truman, probably know how crazy Lake of the Ozarks can get when that starts picking up. You're talking roller waves down by the dam, freaking 2-3 feet, and it can be pretty dicey. So they're kind of spreading that out, and we're hoping it's going to be the beginning of many years of them coming to Truman. And going back to Jeff's point, should bring a lot of business to the area and really help out the marinas. So looking forward to that. We'll have more details on that. We're going to have a lot of fishing reports and all that kind of stuff up at Truman Lake Fishing Intel ahead of time. So if you're wanting to have the best shot, best information, we'll have it up there at the website to see what's going on in the bass fishing. One of the other things I wanted to mention that happened recently around Truman, we had a very tragic death recently that has affected just the local community. Bailey Jelinek was unfortunately passed away in a car accident here in the last week. Brad Jelinek is one of the contributors to Truman Lake Fishing Intel. His dad, Joey, has been a guide on Truman forever. Bailey was helping to run Jellyfish USA and was really taking that off and getting that going really well. So just a really big loss around this area. And so, we just wanted to let everyone know so you could reach out, offer your thoughts and prayers to the Jelinek family because, life cut short.
Man, I knew Bailey very well. I know Joey and Brad and Jason and all the Jelineks. Great folks. And Bailey was one of a kind, man. Any of you guys that use the crappie bombs or any of the jellyfish products, that was the main man for that deal. And he's a great kid and way too young. And God's got big plans for him up there, I'm sure.
Yep. That crappie bomb Jeff has used a lot. I've used it with Brad Jelinek. It's a really cool little product, and it's a spoon with a hook on it, and you talk about getting out of snags. It is unreal. You come up on a snag, and you're like, oh, okay, let me just drop that down a little bit. Boom, pops it right out. Basically, that spoon hits that hook and jars it right out of a snag. So when you're dipping brush piles on Truman and dipping trees with all the branches underwater hanging out, it's a pretty sweet little tool.
Crazy handy.
But no, we just wanted to let everyone know so you could reach out, offer your thoughts and prayers to them, and we'll definitely be thinking about them and remembering Bailey for a long time.
Absolutely.
So, we've talked about a lot of the main fishing stuff I wanted to get to, unless there was anything else you wanted to add.
No, just being out on the water, we've been catfishing quite a bit before all this crappie stuff, and have seen some crazy fish come out.
I was going to say, before we start getting to our next topic, I want you to talk, because you've had some unbelievable trips here in the last couple weeks.
The last couple of weeks has just been awesome for me. I've got to take not just the quality of the fishing, but the quality of the people. I've got to work hand in hand with organizations like Mid-Missouri Youth Outdoors. I even got to attend their banquet, and then just some other people that are really close to me and great clients, and everybody's got something going on in their life. When you get out on a boat, and there's no Chiefs games to talk about. Nobody likes to talk politics, but you really get to know people, and I've been fortunate to have some of those people out, and the quality of fishing while having those people out has just been top notch. When I had the MMYO kids out, we caught a giant fish for Truman Lake, especially on a rod and reel. Was a 6940 blue cat. It's 70 pounds basically. Blue cat on a rod and reel, and they just Mississippi River, Missouri River. Those guys they deal with that on a daily a lot. Those guys catch a ton of big fish on Truman. We catch 20, 30 pounders regular. We still get excited. I get excited about 5 pounders, but we still get wound up. But when you catch something like that, that was extreme, and it's something that's going to be burned into my mind. Theirs, I'm sure, and but it just doesn't stop there. The next day, I had some guys out, real good clients of mine. We caught a 55-pound flathead. The flathead population on Truman, for whatever reason, I think the blue population's got so high that it's kind of crowded out some of the flatheads. But the trot liners, you guys out there running trot lines, you guys catch some great big old flatheads, and rod and reel fishing, we may catch 15 to 20 a year, and that's being out there almost every day. And to catch a 55-pound flathead was a special treat, and all of them were released. We released all of them back out there to catch again. So, but lots of 20 and 30 and 40-pound fish, lots of them. We're getting 5 to 7 overs in a day, which is over 34 inches. Right now, this time of year, it takes a 28-pound fish, 26-pound fish to beat that 34-inch mark. Even we've been weighing some fish. We had some fish that was 32, 33 inches that were in the slot and weighed them just because they had these big guts and they're just healthy and they're floodwater catfish. And, we're getting 20 to 23 pounds and they're still slot fish. So they're just eating real good, and the bite's been fun, and it has been probably one of the most memorable marches that I can remember. Pretty incredible.
That big 70, was that the one that it was kind of wrapped around the tree and he had to really fight it around that thing?
We were fishing some structure. I'd side scan down through there, and I seen this fish. We set up on him, but there was a lot of stumps and trees and all that. He was around some structure, but so strategically placing the lines between this stump and this stump, or this tree and this stump, and when this fish laid down the rod, of course it's immediately peel and drag while it's still in the holder, and they're trying to get a hold of him, and he's just burning line. And so I can see the line going down between these two stumps, and this fish starts splashing probably 50 yards out in front of the boat. And I'm like, man, this is not good, because I know he's got that line at a 90 and then back around another tree. And I tightened the drag down on him a little bit, and I was like, just don't let him run back the other direction. Like, keep him coming. And we were using, I'm working on some of these new rods, and we actually caught him on the lighter model rod, which are called the Drifter, from Power Catfish. And we caught him on the Drifter, the prototype. And I said, just keep him coming. Like, don't let him. I tightened the drag down, and he did. And somehow that line held, a quick prayer. And we got him up. And when I said, it's going to be a good fish. It's going to be a real good fish. I never anticipated when it surfaced. I was like, holy smokes. And I carry a big dip net. I got a Frable Gold dip net that's ready for big catfish. And holy mackerel, man. I dipped, and the tail's hanging out one side and the head's hitting the other, and I'm like, oh, mercy. And it took a couple of us to pick him up over the side. So it was pretty cool. We got some quick pictures and videoed the release, and it's something I'll never forget, that's for sure.
That's freaking awesome, man.
It happens to a lot of people a lot of times, but here on Truman Lake, it don't happen to me enough times.
Right. Well, I was going to transition to turkey hunting, but I totally forgot. I wanted to ask, spoonbill. You don't like to really get out and do it a whole lot.
It's not my gig. You guys, you viewers out there that love it, the people that love it.
Yep.
And I think it's just like anything else. I love sushi. The rest of my family, I got a daughter that likes sushi, and that's about it.
Yep.
They're just different. They smell bad. To me, they taste bad.
Yeah.
But I got buddies out there that's just been smashing them. Cody Van Atten down at Warsaw is a good buddy of mine, and he is wearing those things.
Oh my gosh.
And it's an evolution deal to technique, just like crappie fishing with live scope. There's guys using live scope out there to catch these spoonbill. If you got live scope, you've seen a spoonbill. I mean, you can actually see the spoonbill. And you flip your hook and weight out over it, and you reel it back up, and you set the hook on it. My active target comes in Monday. We may see how this all plays out. I'm not gonna go guide spoonbill just because I can't turn down my March catfish and crappie fishing. But I don't know how many there can be. I know they're kind of a stocked fish as well.
Sure seems like there's an awful lot of them the way Cody catches them.
Yes.
He's been doing 2 or 3 trips a day and limiting out every
all those
single
guys.
one.
Anthony Ford, Cody Van Atten, all them, Chad Short, all them dudes down there that just have it dialed in are crushing them. And they don't do the live scope thing. These guys are pulling dipsy divers. And there's technique to that, They basically, Cody's got those dipsy divers down at his shop, but that's what they use for the weight, and they put 2 hooks above it. And they have a formula in their brain that how many feet of line I let out is how deep that goes down.
Right.
Well, 90% of people are doing this jerk and hope fishing. You see people going down the river pulling.
Yep.
And they got a 16-ounce sinker, and that sinker hits the bottom, and they let out a bunch of line till that sinker hits the bottom, and then you sweep, and you feel that sinker hit the bottom, and you sweep, and you feel it hit the bottom, and you go down all day long like that, and you just wear yourself.
Yeah, that ain't...
I call it jerk and hope.
Yep.
And these guys are chasing fish that are suspended off the bottom, and maybe way up high in the water column. And they'll drive around and graph them, and they'll see them at, in 35 feet of water, 20 foot deep, 15 feet off the bottom, and they let out, I don't know the formula off the top of my head, but they let out 75 feet of line. They know that thing's going to go down 20 foot deep, then they just drag through them and just hammer.
And now they're using reels that tell you how much line they're
they got
out.
line counters on there.
Yeah.
And they'll put it in a rod holder, set the drag a little loose, turn the bait clicker on, and then basically troll. And you troll through the school, and the rod will just go,
yep,
and you got one.
What's crazy is Cody's been telling me that they're not even schooled up that good.
No,
they're fine. He describes them as scattered, and they're still slamming them.
Yeah,
like out of control.
Well, you're going roughly 5 miles an hour, so you're covering a lot of ground. Yeah. You're not using your trolling motor or anything. You're running about 5 miles an hour, and you let your line out, and you just take off.
Yeah,
till you hang one.
Yep,
and it's crazy. I
wasn't down on opening day to see, but I'd love to have seen how many boats were there below the 65 bridge.
That opening day weather stunk.
We did it.
Yeah. I mean,
was that right when we were getting that little snow? Didn't we get a little snow right around that?
It was the 15th, so that would have been Monday.
Okay.
I think.
Because we had a little snow here earlier this week.
That was last Monday, and I think it was on all that rain and crap was going through. It was awful, but those guys were right at it, man, just catching a fire out of them. And there's guys that smoke them, and they're okay,
Yeah.
I don't know, but I mean, I've eat it. There's better out there, but
yeah,
some people just think it's morel mushrooms.
Yeah.
Some people don't like morels, and
that I can't understand.
That's how spoonbill people are with guys like me.
Yeah.
What is wrong with you? This is awesome.
Yep. I mean, Cody, we did a video, a Truman Lake guide dinner video where we were talking about recipes, and Cody did say the only way he likes them is smoked.
Yeah.
But hey, to each their own. So
the only way I like them is bartering them for something.
Yeah.
Or turn them loose so Cody's clients can catch them.
Right.
I love to catch them. Of course, I love to catch anything to pull my string.
Right.
But it's fun to go catch them. But I just soon bend the barbs down.
Right.
And but you kind of have to keep them if it's a legal fish. And
you're required to
keep it. Yeah. So there's not really any catch and release. But that's what I'd like to do.
Yeah. Well, one other little tidbit I wanted to get into, fishing below the dam has been pretty good from what I've heard. Now, I don't know about now with the raging water. You have a little bit more expertise, but I'd heard that walleye were being caught pretty frequently here
and some big
week.
ones.
Yeah.
And as they start running water, that's going to get better, which they have started running water. And they were running just some in the mornings, but now if we can get her cranked up and going, it's typically a February thing, but I guess maybe it's a little behind. I don't know, but guys are really catching some nice walleye down there. It's always the same consensus when you talk about going down there to walleye fish. Everybody says, well, I go down and I lose 3 pounds of weight, or I lose 100 jigs or whatever. That's fishing below the dam.
Yeah.
That's going to happen.
Yeah.
But, 1/4 ounce jig head, chartreuse curly tail, preferably with some orange on it. It's great for walleye down there. Long johns, Jean LaRue long johns work really well for walleye down there. So they're starting to catch some.
Yeah.
Be a good time, the weather's starting to turn around. It'd be nice to get down there and catch some.
Yeah, 100%. So a lot of really exciting things going around Truman right now on the fishing, and we'll be talking about that every time we're on. And but we got some other stuff going on in the outdoor world, the hunting side of things that I'm particularly excited about. We are, I think, officially less than a month away from opening day of Missouri turkey season.
Yep.
So I don't know
Depends on if you count youth season.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. True. No, I don't count that, but
It's coming.
It'll be here soon, and that's one thing that I get pretty amped up. Now, last year I did more hunting than I have ever done for turkeys because I was still am living in Southwest Missouri. I got a tag over in Kansas before they actually shut that down, where non-residents couldn't. Hunted a lot of public land. Got a public land bird over there. Killed 2 in Missouri, but man, turkey season, I don't know if there's anything better in Missouri when it comes to hunting, just the excitement. I mean, there's
not. It's my number one favorite thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
I would trade my boat, my ducks,
Yep.
all of it.
Yep.
As long as I can turkey hunt.
Right. If they could gobble all year round, man, and I guess they do a little bit in the fall, but man, if you could call them in and I'd be doing it all year.
Absolutely love it. We're seeing a few strutters around. I actually got a video from a friend of mine over by Columbia this past Tuesday of a gobbler breeding a hen.
Really?
And I haven't hardly seen any strutters. I had some clients that come down some good friends of mine that come down to fish. And they had come down past my house and said there was a couple of strutters out there, but I haven't seen them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't doubt them. I'm just saying I haven't seen them.
Yeah.
But it's getting time. I haven't even heard hardly any birds gobbling. But 1, the wind's been blowing 40, plus miles an hour. 2, it's been raining.
Yep.
And 3, it's been 25 degrees. So if I was a turkey, I'd keep my mouth shut too.
Yep, 100%. I haven't seen any in-person strutting. But got a lot of camera evidence. In fact, I've got strutting behavior all the way back to January.
Yeah.
But that's a lot of times that's just the males doing their stupid stuff. They become so stupid in the fall. It really is kind of actually pretty annoying. I can't tell you how many turkeys I could have shot, and from a tree stand hunting deer. I'm like, you sons of guns! Like, you're never this stupid in the spring.
Yeah.
No, we're seeing some strutting activity, and have not heard any gobbles either. But we got to be getting close. I mean, the next week they're going to start going off.
I'm kind of excited, for this water to get out of here. I hope they start running this and get it all pulled down and off to some of these bottom grounds. Here in west central Missouri where we live, it's a lot of flood ground and some of our most prime turkey hunting ground. To roll the dice whether it's going to be underwater or not. Those birds have to go to higher ground. And it would be really nice for this water to get off of here and that ground to dry out. For these hens to make a nest. I'm thankful that the water didn't come up like the second week of May like it did right now. I would rather do it now, get it out of its system,
right,
and get the water off. And that'll put a little moisture in the ground for those eggs. They have to have a certain amount of moisture, and get this ground warmed up and back ready for some turkey nests because these turkeys deserve a good nesting year. Last year, they might have nested okay, but they were molested so bad by people. We were overrun with hunters. We were one of the only states to stay open for non-resident turkey hunting, and we were just overrun. And it's hard on them. And so I want this water to get out of here. And I want to be able to nest in their typical nesting places.
Right. What's your opinion if you bust a hen off a nest? You think she comes back?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, and the data says so, but a lot of people think that they don't.
No, she will.
Yeah.
And bearded hens will hatch nests too.
Yeah, that's always pretty funny.
I always get somebody that's like, well, I shot a bearded hen. Normally I wouldn't shoot a hen, but they don't nest anyway. Okay.
No, they definitely do.
Most people don't realize that a beard is just a feather mutation.
Right. Well, and what's funny is because I've had a buddy kill a bearded hen, and it was like cool for about 5 seconds, and then it's like, man, there's like 5 pounds of meat at them. I don't even know if it was that much, to be honest with you. I mean, you're talking 20 to 25 pound tom here in west central Missouri versus at the biggest, maybe a 10 or 12 pound hen. Yeah. There's not much there to eat. So that's just one of the primary reasons that I don't ever plan on shooting a bearded hen, maybe in the fall. But
and a client and I was talking the other day, and if you folks aren't keeping your thighs out of your turkeys, and there's even a little back strap in there, but if you're not keeping those thighs, you're missing out. I 100% guarantee you, because I've got a 5'3" tall little 110-pound wife. Will turn that into some turkey and noodles. It is out of this world.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So one of the things, I'm glad you brought that up. I made turkey burgers this past spring. Between my dad's 2, my 3 from Kansas and 2 from Missouri, turned it into turkey burger, and those thighs added a ton to that where we were able to get a lot of burgers. And I'll probably post the recipe somewhere because it was, Sammy took her first bite out of it and she's like, she just stopped and she's like, this might be the best burger I've ever had. I'm like, come on now. But it was freaking good. I'm just telling you. And it was thigh meat, breast meat, and, pork fat kind of mixed into it. So, but one of the things, what's that recipe that Johnny likes? It's that like Italian dressing. He'll cut them into real thin strips.
Yep. He does Italian dressing and then he breads it and fries it.
Yep.
But he does the Italian dressing before he breads it.
Yep.
It's really good. I've had it that way.
Yep.
And I tell you, another thing you can do is take that thigh, make one cut, and that thigh bone comes out. Mm-hmm. And then you can fan that out. You can pound it out because it is a little bit tough on them big old gobblers, but you can tenderize it.
Yep.
Season it up, put a little Italian dressing on it, and grill it. And then make some of Miss Mahoney's bruschetta and put right on top of it. Man.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm looking forward to it.
Be a hell of a meal. So when it comes to turkey, I know you've got some really good stories and best practices and all that kind of thing. Public land, I kind of want to hear your thoughts on this, especially when it's overpressured. I mean, what's the chances? I mean, do you recommend people try public land right now?
Sure. I mean, absolutely. I highly recommend hunting public land. There's some really good stuff out there. And the thing about hunting public land is everybody says, well, you just got to go in a little bit further than the next guy. Mm-hmm. That's a little bit different when you're hunting turkeys and when you're hunting deer. Mm-hmm. If you're hunting deer, that stands true. Yeah. Because nobody, some guys don't want to drag one that far.
Right.
When you're hunting turkeys, if he gobbles 4 miles in there, he's going after him. I don't care who it is, how old he is, or how bad shape he's in.
Right.
If he gobbles, he's going after him. Mm-hmm. And so it's really not go in a little further than the next guy because it's going to happen. To me, the best key for hunting public land is if you've got a spot that maybe doesn't get a lot of pressure, or you're scouting, you need to roost them, mm-hmm. but you need to roost them from a distance of an evening or whatever. Going in with a coyote call, going in with whatever, and roost them from a distance and try not to bump them around. And when you do have them roosted, you get as close as you can absolutely get to that tree. You can get in there early. Mm-hmm. That's the best thing. On private ground, you can kind of wait. Everything comes alive and wake up, and he gobbles from a tree, and then you can kind of slip in. Mm-hmm. But for public ground, you need to have him roosted for the best odds. Yep. But you don't want to go in and be stomping all over the place and blow them out when they are trying to roost them.
Right.
That's a bad deal. The other thing is, obviously, the safety stuff. There's going to be people. You're going to run into people. And when you're working with a bird that's vocal and he's gobbling a lot, there's probably 3 other people that are hearing that same bird. Mm-hmm. So get as close as you can and try to get him whacked quickly before somebody gets there. Yeah. And maybe it's just our area. I mean, there's a lot of great public land in Missouri, but our area right here in Henry County is saturated, like horribly saturated. And I'm not saying that's bad. That's revenue from Mississippi and Louisiana and Arkansas and wherever all these guys come from. It is revenue, but it gets a lot of traffic. Scouting is key. Yep. Roost them. Don't mess with the birds. That's one thing. And guys, some guys say, everybody has an opinion. Mm-hmm. I'm telling you the way I feel. It's not right or wrong. Mm-hmm. But some guys think you can do whatever you want to do. Don't go out and call and just make them gobble 2 weeks before season just to hear them gobble. Right. You guys do that, and that bird gets. It's just not a good thing. Mm-hmm. So don't be out there just trying to make them gobble 2 weeks before season when you're doing your scouting. If you're doing your scouting, do just like you are during the season. Slip out there of an evening, sit down at the base of a tree, listen to them go to roost. They're going to gobble 1 or 2 times, and then leave. Do that every 3 days or so. When season rolls around, roosting that night before, get in there. Mm-hmm. As long as the wind don't blow hard, don't have any big storms, lightning, thunder, all that stuff, he's going to be right there. Yeah. Get as close to that tree as you can get. And when his feet hit the ground, you want to be there pretty doggone close. Yeah.
Yep, that was one thing hunting Kansas public land. I was bow hunting last year, and I had the whole place to myself. As soon as the first day shotgun opened, floodgates were open. And I got there like at 3:15 or 3:30 in the morning.
That's crazy.
Thinking that there's no way. I've not seen another vehicle here, even scouting. There was 2 other vehicles there. And the one group wasn't even there, in the truck. They had already gone in. The one group I talked to, and they're like, yeah, we're going right here. I'm like, that's right where I roosted them. And I'm like, I just asked them, just me kind of being butthurt. I was like, have you guys done any scouting? They're like, no. This is our first time getting out. And I'm like, I've been out here every day for 3 weeks scouting and bow hunting. I should have killed one before that anyway. I messed up a shot. But regardless, that was, opening day. I'm not saying don't go opening day, but you're going to have the most amount of pressure. So one of the interesting things, you talked about this area being very pressured. For those listening, and I'm not giving away any secrets because there's thousands of acres of this, the Ozark National Scenic Riverway down in south central Missouri. I did a hunt there 6-7 years ago, and at the time, and still actually this holds true, it was the most amount of turkeys I've ever heard gobble anywhere ever. And it was incredible. We were there in the middle of the second week of season, floating down the river, smallmouth fishing and turkey hunting, waiting for them to gobble. When you hear one, you get up, go. And we did not see another soul in the woods. And that was the middle of the second week. So that's just one of those things that it kind of got me thinking, like, man, everyone hits it hard that first week. If you can figure out how to go in the middle of the week and maybe the second week, the Ozark National Scenic Riverway, if all you've done is hunt the core ground around Truman and you're tired of dealing with pressure, there's, I believe, over 14,000 acres down there that you can go hunt. It might be actually substantially more than that. But it was, if I hadn't missed, I would have had one down there. So just throwing another option out there. There's a ton of land, obviously, around Truman as well. But to Jeff's point, even on our private land here, now this helps a lot now that we invested a lot in the cell cameras and kind of being able to have those pictures come straight to our phones, knowing where they're at, what they're doing, so I don't have to go in there and check cameras. But we basically try to stay out of the area completely. It kind of like when it comes to killing a big deer, you don't want human pressure in there messing them up. Yep. And I know that can be hard to do, especially when mushrooms start popping in early to mid-April. So, but anyway, so just a couple of things that we do. I've got a spot on our place, and what I've always thought about this, because Stephen Ranella talks about it in one of his episodes of Meat Eater, where he's like, decades go by and generations go to the same spot to hunt elk out in Colorado, and there's still elk doing elk things in the same spot. Mm-hmm. Turkeys are doing turkey things in the same spot year after year after year, and I'm gonna go kill one on open day like I have done for the last 5 years in the spot. Yeah. I can almost guarantee it. Done it 5 years in a row. Yeah. And they're just there, and the reason they're there is you don't freaking bother them like you said ahead of time. You just maybe sneak in late one evening, set up a blind a couple weeks before season. It's typically what I like to do. And, or, if you don't hunt from a blind, whatever. But when I have a camera and a gun and all that, I try to be concealed as much as possible. But that would be my advice, is just keeping the human pressure down, especially if you're on private land. Public land, there's not a lot you can do about that. But anyway, before we, because I want to talk about mushrooms here a little bit, but I wanted to hear maybe one or two of your favorite turkey hunting stories. I know you've got a lot of them.
I do. My favorites are always the wife and kids, obviously. They all kind of tell their own story. I'll tell one recent, just this past spring. Really super cool hunt with Madison. We were on a good friend of mine's place behind his house. He'd been watching this bird, and he said Jeffy's there every day. Mm-hmm. He's got to be not roosting far. Y'all ought to get in after him. Mm-hmm. So we go back there, and he's got some round bales in rows, and then there's just a little bitty corner in this pasture, and these are big giant hills, and we're on one hill. We get in there and we go down, and there's wasn't going to set against a round bale, obviously, because it's not going to look good. So we kind of slid between two rows of those round bales, and she's got her gun rested on top of roundbill, so we look like two little prairie dogs.
Right.
Well, this bird is roosted. We're on one hill, goes down a big valley, and there's a little grass in front of us, and he's roosted right here in this valley, and we're on this hill, so we're eye level with him.
Right.
He's in the top of a tree, but he's right here.
Yeah.
And he's not 75 yards from us. And so he gobbles on the roost 7,000 times, and a hen flies down in the pasture we're in, and she comes right up beside us, and we're kind of there, and we have a decoy out in front of us. And finally he flies down. He blows up in strut. I know he can see these decoys, and he just stands out there strutting, and she says, "Dad, call him over here." And I'm like, we're not going to make a sound. Like, he knows they're there. Like, he can see the decoys from the tree. So finally he breaks, and he comes up to the fence where these round bales are stacked against, and she's got her gun laying here. And he's coming down the fence, and he gets right even with us. Our decoys are out in front of us. He gets right even with us. Well, now she can't see him because he's one round bale's width away.
Oh my god!
But he's on the other side, and I'm standing next to her, so I'm looking down on top of his head. And she's trying to creep up, and I'm like, I grab her shirt right here and just kind of holding her down, because I know he's gonna turn and walk out to those. And he did. He turned and he walked directly away out to our decoys.
What a freaking sight!
And I told her, I said, when he turns around. And he turns around and gets up. I had a Higdon breeder out with a Jake there, and he gets up on top of my breeder, and of course pulls his head up and sticks his wings down, and she rolls him. And it's her biggest bird by far, and one of the biggest birds I've been a part of in a long time.
Yeah.
And so that's just from the past season. And Natasha killed a really great bird the last day of season. On a farm where I just talked to the farmer, and he's been seeing quite a few, so we're really stoked to get back over there. But every turkey hunt, there's not too many of them I can't remember.
Right.
You know what I mean? They all mean something.
Yep.
Last year, me and two of my very, very, very good, they're family from down in Louisiana. Me and Drake and Drayton, we actually tripled.
Oh my god.
We scouted the night before. I went to this spot. It's public ground.
Oh.
I went to this spot the night before, and me and Drayton, I said, I know there's a bird in here. I want to go see if we can roost him. So we go in. We actually walk up on these four gobblers, just feeding by themselves.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh no. We lay on our bellies, and we're sneaking out, and we get far enough where we get up, we take off running, And so we get in this tree line, and we sit down, and we're not even camouflaged.
Right.
We were just kind of scouting, and they weren't where they were supposed to be. And so we're sitting there, and turkeys keep walking out, like, right to us. And like, oh, man. And hens.
Yeah.
And they fly off and this and that. I'm like, this is awful.
Yeah.
So we sat, and we're like, let's just get out of here. They're going to roost here somewhere because it's pretty late in the evening. So we leave. We get there early the next morning. We're the first truck there. We're like, yeah, this is awesome. We slip in there, and they're roosted like 300 yards away from where we was. And I was like, gosh darn it. Well, we're already set up, so we're staying. So we start calling, and they're hammering. We hear them fly down, and they're coming. And they come right straight to us. And the plan was 1, 2, 3, boom.
Yeah. That's always the plan.
But they're all four in a line coming, and they're all 10 yards apart. Two's in a strut, two's not in strut.
Right.
It's kind of one of those deals. Well, our decoys are like 7 yards away. And one gets up in the decoys, and we're like, uh-oh. So, and the others are just standing there looking, and we're like, man. So we told Drake, he's like, just shoot one. So he shoots, boom, he kills one. I shoot, boom, I kill one. Drayton shoots, boom, he kills one. So we got 3 of them.
Oh my gosh. That last
So
one
it's pretty cool.
He was counting.
He stood there.
Yeah. Oh, he
stood
did?
there. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. If somebody been with us, we'd have cleaned the whole place out.
Oh my goodness. That is a hell of a hunt.
Yeah, it was fun. It was really super cool. And I usually kill one bird a year just because I love to take people. And that was my one bird for the season.
Yeah.
I usually always kill one bird a year.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't love it.
Yeah.
I was a call to 14 of them last year that we got. But I was shooting.
You probably got to be in the hundreds that you've called in.
A lot, yeah, a pile. And back in 01, I killed one that had 8 beards on it with over 64 inches tall.
Oh my! Did you have that officially like entered it? Because that would have been a record book turkey.
Yeah, so a guy measured it for NWTF, and it was at one time it was 10th in the world and 2nd in the state, but I think it's been moved now.
Yeah.
But that was at that time. And Bass Pro actually purchased it from me, and it hung in Springfield for a long time.
Yeah. Wow, that's freaking awesome. I don't know. It seems like, I don't know if you could say, like, after you get done with every turkey hunt, it's like, man, that's my favorite turkey hunt. Like,
even if I don't get one.
Yeah.
I lose so much sleep during turkey season, and not because I get up early. It's because it's better than Christmas, especially when I got one roosted.
Right.
I'm like, man, we're gonna go to bed, and I wake up every 30 minutes. Like, is it time yet? Is it time yet? Is it time yet? Is it time yet? Or I'm worried. Don't oversleep. Don't oversleep. Don't oversleep. You know, I lose so much sleep, but there is nothing else like it. I've never been elk hunting. You guys, viewers, listeners out there that elk hunt, everybody tells me the same thing. Like, if you love turkey hunting, man, you really love elk hunting. And one of these days, maybe I'll get to go, but there's nothing else like turkey hunting. I mean, we vocalize with ducks and geese and stuff like that, and they put on a show, but it's not like turkey hunting.
Yeah, I know. I'll tell you, Sammy and I have been together for 5 years, and I've had a lot of awesome turkey hunts, and they're always when she's not with me. Yeah. So that, whenever I do finally get her one, I think that'll probably be a really rewarding deal. We've come so close on several occasions, and it's gonna, well, hopefully this year will be the year. So.
Natasha's killed a good handful. It's always a lot of work, man. It seems like I wear her little legs out, you know, getting it done, but it's just because I'm hitting it hard because I wanted to get one. You know what I mean? I don't give up easy.
Right.
You know, and she doesn't get a lot of time to hunt with work. And the last day of season last year, and it was 10:30. We went on a hunt that I thought was going to be a chip shot. Had these 2 birds pegged, roosted, everything. Everything was good. They come out. We had a trespasser come through, and so it blew our morning. And we tried to get on some others, and it didn't work. And so at 10:30, I said, "Let's go drive past this one farm we hunt, and if there's a bird strutting out there, we'll try to get on him." And sure enough, there was 1 gobbler and 1 hen, and I'm talking in a 300-acre wide open pasture, and they were out there. And so there was a little spot we could slip around, and I had my fan with me, and I'm not big on like crawling out to him, but I'll use it if I can get his attention and get him gobbling and show it to him and let him come. That's what I like to do, and that's what we did. We got in position, we got set up, and I was kind of on a knee, had the fan up, called, got him hammering. Actually, his hen come up, we boogered her, she took off, and he was just so infatuated with that deal that he come up to the fence, come through a fence, just running right up to us, you know, and she rolled him. And she's done that twice now. Once we were laying on our bellies, and we pulled into a spot, and the farm drive come in, and it dropped over like a little hill. Yeah. And I walked up about 15 feet in front of the truck, and I could see a fan about 75 yards down this hill on the farm road. Yeah. And I was like, oh no. So I dropped down, I crawled back to the truck. I said, get your gun and give me that. And so we literally started at the truck. Madison's sitting in the truck watching. And we crawl up from the truck 30 yards. And we're in the road. And I raise up and I call and he gobbles. And I call and he gobbles. And I slowly raise up and she's laying on her belly right here. And he sees it and stretches up real big and comes running. So I just get back down on my belly. I'm like, he's coming. And she can't see him. And I'm like, just keep your gun pointed. And he just comes running. And she shoots him at like 8 feet.
Oh my God.
And Madison's sitting in the truck watching.
That's pretty cool. That's really freaking cool.
It's pretty neat. I've got, man, so many stories just. Yeah. We've been blessed in the turkey woods. And I had a super cool hunt with Johnny Everhart one time that he was going to film. Took the camera and everything. Yeah. He got it on film. And as soon as it was over, I was like, you know, you know, and I was like, you got it? He's like, oh, I got it. You ain't gonna like it. He said, I was leaning on everything I knew to lean on.
You gotta have that old tripod up there. So
that's
freaking awesome, man. The one story I'll tell, and this happened last year, and it was that public land bird, which I've killed 2 public land birds. But man, because I've always had private farms to go to, but I just was like, you know what, I want to kill a public land bird, and it was over in Kansas. And as I told you, I mean, I scouted from the beginning of March till you could freaking start hunting, and after messing up the shot on the one, I mean, I was really bummed out. That was like opening day of archery, like literally first hour, came strutting in. I just miffed it. But I've been scouting these, there's a bunch of like duck areas that's primarily for duck hunting. Parts of them you can't even hunt on. But during turkey season, you can hunt. You got to use steel shot or tungsten, non-lead stuff. And I had been scouting this place, and no one had been there. No one, like, not ever. And this river ran through it, kind of snaking through. And there's this one bird, ahead of shotgun season. He was on that little peninsula on the inside of it, gobbling every day, sometime between 1 and 4 p.m. Over in Kansas, you can hunt all day. So I really like that. I wish Kevin, Missouri would go that way. There's mixed opinions. Anyway, so second day of shotgun season comes around. The opening day was a bust because there's too much people where I was hunting over in the Mineland Wildlife Area in southeast Kansas. And so went the second day and drove up there. Not a car in sight. I go in there. Sure enough, freaking A. There he's got one. Now, I went in on the inside where I was like, he was on that little peninsula. And I'm like, that's where he can be. When he gobbled, it sounded like he was over on the other side of the river. And he gobbled 5 times. And I was convinced, and it was real windy, I was convinced he was on the other side of the river. So I backed out, got to my truck, drove around. Took 20 minutes to get all the way out and around. Yeah. Got back in, snuck in where I thought I heard him, and he gobbled again over on the other side of the river.
Where you already were.
And I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Now, that was an elevated position, so I'm not saying maybe he couldn't have flown down. Right. But I got to that elevated position and calling, and he was hot. He freaking came right to the river's edge, and I had belly crawled, and the leaves are so dry, like he could actually hear it, and he was going nuts just hearing the leaves because he thought it was the hen. And finally, I crawled up to the edge, and it was probably a little too far of a shot. It was about 45, 50 yards. I was using those 3-inchers, and I hit him. I rolled him, and I was like, okay, he's done. Then he gets up and starts running. Fired 2 more shots, nothing. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me. I just blew my chance again on a public land bird. So I go back out, go all the way back around, and I was using that OnX app, and I just slowly walked around that peninsula, like not making a sound, seeing if I could, because I've done this before, unfortunately, where I've wounded a bird like that, and they walk off, but they're hurt. And they won't go far. Yeah. And I've been able to sneak around on them and get them. And so I walk all the way around this peninsula. It was almost a mile long of just kind of grid searching around. And I get back to almost where I started. And I'm looking at my phone. And I look up. And there's a tom standing from me to the wall. It's like 6 yards in this little watering hole. And he was all tucked over. You could just tell he was. Yeah. It was my tom. Yeah. And he was literally just sitting there in the water, just sitting there. And I was so close, I had to back up, sidestep around, and his head was down like between his wings, and he finally had to make some noise to get him to raise his head. And I was like at 10 yards, and I see that look in his eyes like, oh, it's over. Boom! And I mean, it was him. I mean, it was absolutely without a doubt him. And I couldn't believe I pulled that off after I messed up the shot. It's not the way I wanted to do it. But that was to have done the scouting and know that bird was in there, luckily not have competition, and somehow pull out the miracle after making a bad shot.
Pretty rewarding.
Yeah, 100%. So that was the public land victory, but there were several close calls. Southeast Kansas has got quite a few birds. So
turkey season is just one of those things. If you have a chance to get a kid out, man, there's nothing that will get a person hooked on the outdoors.
Oh my gosh,
like a good turkey hunt.
No.
And for a kid, there's a lot of learning. There's learning how to be still and learning how to be quiet.
Yep.
If you're ground blind hunting, you can do the snacks and all this stuff in there. But if you're running gun hunting, that's how my kids learned. I mean, we haven't killed 5 turkeys out of a ground blind. We run and gun, and you got to learn to be still, and you got to learn to hold your gun up. Sometimes it's wear your arms out, wear your knees out. Sometimes you sit in a position where you go to stand up and you fall over.
Yep, I had that happen. You learn how to sit right, where your butt still starts falling asleep and hurting, and you just kind of power through it.
There's some good products out there now that's making some of that a little easier. I've been looking at the Knights Hunting Products hands-free turkey vest, which is pretty sweet. They've got a deal that goes on your knee that swivels to lay your gun on, then it's got a strap up here on your shoulder strap that the butt of your shotgun goes in. So literally, you can have your hands free. Your gun's on your knee. The butt's in right there. And but a lot of good things for a kid to learn. Safety, obviously, and the scouting part, and then the rewarding feeling of calling something and interacting with wildlife, and then being successful in the table fairs.
That's a pretty cool little product. I mean, you're probably sitting there like me. You got a mouth call. I've got a lot of times a slate call sitting in my lap, and I'm gonna have to look into that.
It's pretty neat. Yeah, Knights Hunting Products, really cool. Hands-free turkey vest.
Yeah. Well, we'll kind of end on this, but turkey season isn't the only thing that people are gonna be out in the woods looking for here in the next few weeks. We've got mushroom season coming up.
Some people are already starting to find some red ones. The false morels.
Yep.
I eat a few of them. I'm not going to tell you to eat them. They are poisonous if not prepared. But I eat some of them, have since I was a little bitty old kid. I'm not going to say I eat my weight in them. I like 2 or 3 messes before the morels come up. Really like them for breakfast with eggs and sausage patties. But they're starting to find a few of the red false morels.
And I've seen, if you're in Missouri, there's a Facebook group. It's like Missouri Confirmed Finds or Missouri Morel Mushroom Hunting. And they actually, it's all legit. Like, you have to have a receipt taken next to the picture to verify the date. They've already found some singles, Southwest Missouri. But what around here, I mean, what's your experience on when you start really seeing them pop up?
So as soon as we start getting some nights in a row that are over 50 degrees, nights over 50 in a row, you can't have one and then 3 off and then one. We start getting 3, 4, 5 nights in a row that stay up over 50 degrees. Yeah, that's on.
Especially after a rain, maybe 70-degree days.
We got plenty of moisture. We got enough moisture to last till August.
Yeah.
But we get those nights over 50. That's what it is. Warm nights.
So one thing that I learned from our neighbor Jake Tonsfeld here last year, and I just go wandering and looking. I hadn't really put rhyme or reason or thought into strategically finding the mushrooms, other than occasionally finding them by a dead elm or noticing that kind of stuff. But we really started finding a lot of them late season last year, like end of April, first couple days of May. And it was on north-facing slopes. We went over to Ponderosa and we're finding them, and Jake was like, don't even bother looking on the south-facing slopes. North-facing slopes where the leafy matter, now there's a lot of coal dumps around here, so stay on those north-facing slopes late in the season, and where the leafy matter is kind of intermittent, where you could see some bare dirt in with the moss. And sure enough, like spot on, that we found a ton on that pattern. And I started, as soon as we did that, I went over to our place, started looking in places I'd never looked, boom, started finding them. Found them in cedar thickets, found them in hedgerows. I mean, you can freaking find them anywhere. But
a lot of people say every year it's it's a different kind of tree or whatever, but seems like every year you find them around whatever tree at some point in time in the year.
I don't know if there's anything to it about having a mesh bag that you carry them with, but I mean, I do. It just kind of depends. I have this large soft-sided cooler bag that I've been using that I think takes care of them a little bit better as you're walking along, but I don't know that really matters. But I have noticed there's some spots in our place where you find several hundred 1 year. Yeah. And then done.
Mycelium's a funny thing, which is what a morel mushroom spawns from. It's like a spider web just under the surface, and the mushroom is actually the fruit that comes off of that mycelium. And I don't know. I don't know as the onion sacs or anything like that or transfer any spores.
Right.
But we all do it.
Right. So anyway, really looking forward to that. I mean, for us, that April 10th to April 15th time frame has traditionally right here in west central Missouri, where my farm is at, is a little northwest of Clinton. That April 10th, April 15th is about the earliest that we will start to find some. So kind of varies wherever you're at in the state, but there's a little rule of thumb for at least what we've noticed on our places. So we'll be talking about it a lot more coming up. Hell, we might, by the time we launch our next episode, we might have found some potentially.
That'll be the first Thursday that'll be the Thursday before the youth weekend of turkey season. So.
Yep. So, but no, that's that. That's everything we wanted to cover today. Jeff, I wasn't sure if you wanted to add anything else, but we're looking forward to doing a lot more of these.
No, we'll try to keep you updated on what's going on the lake. Be sure to watch Truman Lake Fishing Intel and like and share this. We're going to do this monthly until it blooms into something more.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's enough going on that we need to do it twice a month, by golly, we'll do that.
Yeah.
But for now, we're going to do it the first Thursday of every month.
Yep. We'll be launching it. You guys are probably watching this video on Facebook and YouTube. It'll be on the Endless Season Guide Service Facebook page. It'll be on the Truman Lake Fishing Intel YouTube page, as well as all of our websites. But you can find the audio version as well on iTunes and Spotify, some of those, all the big places where you can find podcasts. You can find the audio version as well and listen to it there. So
if there's something you'd like for us to mention or dig into, make sure you comment on that post or shoot us a message either way. Or if there's a product or something that you'd like us to talk about here on the show, just let us know.
Absolutely. Well, until next time, guys, I'm Tyler Mahoney.
And I'm Jeff Faulkenberry.
And we'll see you on the next one.